John Cena made an appearance on the No Contest Wrestling podcast with O'Shea Jackson Jr. and TJ Jefferson. He gave them over 2 hours talking all sorts of stuff, but among the more interesting nuggets to come out of the interview, I grabbed a few bits and pieces here from what I read and what I heard. But this one was the most interesting to me because this is something that I was hearing for the first time, and I think he was sharing it for the first time. But in the interview, John Cena claims that he was supposed to win and lose his 17th World Championship at SummerSlam in 2021. And the finish got changed when Brock Lesnar was suddenly booked to return on the show. This is what he said. That night was supposed to go very different. In the last moment, we had a surprise guest booked, and he came out after the match was over. Now, let me pause here for a second. The match that he's referring to was John Cena against Roman Reigns. So it was like the battle of the past era of WWE against the present era of WWE. And they had only wrestled on televised once before. This was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years prior to this. It was a while back. And honestly, of the times that I have ever seen John Cena and Roman Reigns in the ring together one-on-one, and it was really just those 2 times, I never thought the matches were anything great. But at the time, it was booked as this big SummerSlam main event. And I mean, marquee-wise, yes, it was a big-time main event. But that's the match that he's referring to here. So he said at the last minute, a surprise guest was booked to come out when it was over. And that being Brock Lesnar. He said they didn't secure Brock until 5 p.m. that day. I was going to win 17. We were going to have someone come out and restart the match, and Roman was going to take it back. The way we put together the match was we were going to give them a hell of a match. Everything out the door, no rules, no nothing, tons of finishers, all this stuff because I was going to win, and then Roman was going to take it back. So you have this hard-fought battle, and then through a nefarious set of rules, the match is restarted. Then we secure Brock, and Talent Relations comes and says, I need to see you, we're switching the finish. To what? Roman over. Yep. Clean. Yep. Okay, what do you want to do? Let me just talk to Roman and Paul. I go in and they're like, you got the news? I said, I got the news. What do we do? I said, 1 spear. That's it. Whatever match you want to have, that's fine. You beat me with your finish once. I love Paul. Paul Heyman has been a great mentor. He gets it and he recognizes somebody who sees that it's not about them, it's about the story. This is going to make Roman better because they're having him win so he can go on to bigger and better things. And it switched right there. We're on the West Coast, so it's like an hour before the thing. It happens to everyone. It happens from the top of the card down to the bottom. They will switch. They will cut your time. They will give you different creative. It happens all the time. So I didn't flip out. When Travis didn't want to do it anymore, and when Rock chose to go another way, it happens. I saw Steve Austin leave. I saw him get fired. I was there when they fired him in Atlanta. It happens all the time. But I was supposed to win 17 that night. And yeah, Travis not wanting to do it anymore and Rock choosing to go a different way sure fucked things up last year. That is true. But I have to correct something. So put my little nerd glasses on here. First of all, Austin wasn't fired in Atlanta. He walked out in Atlanta. They didn't fire him. But they did have to rebook the show. So Brock Lesnar, instead of beating Stone Cold to qualify for the King of the Ring in an unadvertised match, which would have been very stupid, he ended up beating Bubba Ray Dudley instead. And they, if you remember, they rushed the Power Struggle storyline with Vince McMahon. He had a match that was not planned. In the main event that night, he wrestled Ric Flair, and then he became the sole owner once again of WWE. So that's how that all went down. But second, SummerSlam 2021 is the night that Ponytail Brock debuted, when he returned after the main event, or Cowboy Brock. I mean, whatever you want to call him. And I remember, again, that match was, I don't know, I just felt like the match was pretty underwhelming. It didn't help, if you remember this, that they added the stipulation 24 hours before on TV that if Roman loses, Roman said, if I lose, like it's Vegas, it's all or nothing, right? I either leave with the title or I leave WWE. And so it makes me wonder about this story, because if that were the case, I mean, I guess they could have just had Roman go back on his word. I mean, he was a heel. But, I mean, that was the stipulation. Roman loses, then he leaves. And here Cena is claiming that he was winning. He was winning number 17 until 5 o'clock that day, and then everything changed. But, yeah, he did say through a nefarious set of rules. So, I mean, I guess there would have been some sort of loophole there. But, I mean, I'm listening to him talk about this idea, and it's like, oh, God. Like, thank God that didn't happen. That would have been awful. What an awful idea. Like, and here I thought him winning 17 the way he did last year was bad. Imagine the record being set, only for him to lose it right back 90 seconds later. Like, that would have been fucking terrible. Like, I'm listening to this. I'm like, boy, did we dodge a bullet. And also, here's the other thing that would have bothered me about it. Like, number 17, had he won the title that night, it would have been the Universal title. I don't know. It wouldn't have felt right to me. Can you even call that a world title? It's a Universal title. It's technically not a world championship. But like, if he was going to do it, if he was ever going to win number 17, I'm glad it was the WWE title. Because for it to have been the Universal title, I don't know, that just would have felt wrong to me. But he also revealed a few things about his retirement tour. He said that AJ Styles was not his original opponent for Crown Jewel in Perth. He was initially set to wrestle Drew McIntyre on that show, but the decision was made to give the fans a feel-good moment instead. He said AJ was supposed to be Drew, but it pivoted. We wanted to give them a feel-good moment because they were listening to the data points. They listen to you guys. They do. It's real, he says. Oh, really? See, I think it's more likely they realized that they botched up a good part of this whole retirement tour, and they were like, hey, we better throw the fans a bone here and make them happy. And it does feel that way because there was no build-up to it on TV. They literally just, they built it up on social media to make it sound like the fans were voicing their opinion. So they were like, okay, fine, we're going to give you this match. But like, they were planning the match long before John Cena put that tweet out, asking people if this was the kind of match that they would want to see, so that the people would feel like it was something that they willed into existence, which, hey, smart on their part to try to convince the fans of that, I guess. But I think it's more likely they realize, like, okay, we gotta give them something really special here, to make up for some of the bullshit that we've done. But also, I think it just came down to him only having limited dates as far as why we didn't get that match with him and Drew McIntyre. I'm glad we got Cena and AJ. It was a great match. Cena and Drew and the promos, because Drew was on his promo game. That would have been something. But I think that more than anything just came down to the limited number of dates that he had. You have to do the match with Randy Orton at some point. So they did it at Backlash in Randy's hometown of St. Louis. You have to do John Cena and CM Punk at some point. So they elected to do it in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions. Like, you can quibble about the dates or the locations for it. They did do those matches, though. Those matches had to happen at some point. But like when it came to the R-Truth stuff or he was in some tag matches with Logan Paul, like there were times where if they wanted to, they could have, flipped it to Cena versus Drew, but then it would have been heel against heel. Turning him heel didn't help things. Cena also said the original plan had been for him to turn back babyface during his match with Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, rather than doing it on the go-home show. I guess that was 2 nights before. Yeah, I mean, that came out of fucking nowhere. Literally, like a switch got flipped. And it's like, we got to get out of this. So let's get him back to being a babyface as quickly as possible. He also confirmed that the decision and I think this was kind of understood. I don't remember if he flat out said this in the interview he did with Cody after he retired. But he did confirm that the decision for his character to smile and tap out in the match against Gunther was his own decision. And I've already litigated this, and I've already made my thoughts on it very clear. It was a very polarizing finish to that match, and my mind has not changed. Now, if John Cena wanted to do that finish, then you know what? It's his retirement match, and he got to do what he wanted to do. So good for him. Objectively, as a fan watching that match, I thought it was a terrible finish. But if you feel otherwise, I'm happy for you. Now, Cena says that Bruce Pritchard is the one who pitched for his final night on Saturday night's main event to be a one-match show. He said, I remember Bruce Pritchard, who was a great friend of mine, came up to me and was like, for your last show, I'm thinking about a one-match show. I said, you will kill the audience. You will absolutely murder the live event audience. Now, WWE is great at production. If you were watching at home, that would have been great. But the win would have been out of the sales in DC. I said, no, fuck that. Do 2 or 3 minute packages here and there, but let's get some matches. Let's bring in some marquee guys. And that was the right way to go. I thought it was smart being able to showcase newer faces like Obafemi and Sol Ruka from NXT, right? Javon Evans and Leon Slater, who, technically is not a WWE guy. He will be at some point, but I like that. It brought some variety to the show, and he's not wrong. You had a packed building that night, and to do one match for the entire 2 hours or whatever it was, that would have been ridiculous. Now, he also provided an explanation for his decision to end his career in December rather than waiting for a WrestleMania moment. He said that his choice was driven by a data-centric approach to the WWE business model. And he noted that while the road to WrestleMania traditionally begins in January, December has historically been a month in limbo for the company, suffering from lower viewership and softer live attendance due to holiday spending and travel. And he explained that he intentionally pitched December to Nick Khan and Triple H to address a recurring weakness in the annual calendar. And by scheduling a retirement event in the middle of December, specifically during the, quote, dry zone between Survivor Series and Royal Rumble, he aimed to drive fourth quarter profitability. He said, retiring at WrestleMania is selfish. It doesn't do anything for the business. We retire in December, our weakest month, and we take the middle of December, the dry zone, that desert, from the end of Survivor Series to the beginning of the Rumble. We put it right in the middle of December. Let's show a profit in Q4. The one thing you can never say about John Cena is that he is not a company guy. And in all of these interviews and every time you listen to him speak over the years and when he was on top, this is how he would speak. He had an eye towards, okay, what's the gate? And, how are the merch numbers? And he was very invested. And on top of that, I'm sure a lot of it was because he wanted to know how he was doing. Obviously, how we selling here? Is everything working out okay? But he always came across as someone who, had an eye towards, what's best for the company and how is the company doing overall. And he had an interest in the numbers and things that maybe, other people on the roster didn't think about or didn't care about. So I'm not surprised to hear him say something like that. It's not even quite frankly, a stupid thing, what he's saying. It really is a dead period. You can look on the calendar and there are multiple dead periods during the year. And I would argue that post-WrestleMania, right, is not usually a terribly exciting period. That period post-Summerslam, September, October, that's kind of a dead zone. And then you have post-Survivor Series where it's the holiday season. We're heading into New Year's. And yeah, there's usually not a whole lot going on. We're counting down the weeks until the Royal Rumble. But it also makes you wonder why WWE turned down Cena's offer to work more dates last year. That still boggles my mind. He wanted to do a full year. He wanted to do 220 dates. I'm not even sure WWE has that many dates anymore. Now, that was probably too many. Okay, for 48-year-old John Cena to work 220 dates is ridiculous. They wanted him for 36, which sounds like too little. I don't know why they couldn't meet in the middle somewhere. But I say this because Post Wrestling and Brandon Thurston had a story this week about just how much money those 36 dates generated at the gate for WWE last year. Now, we cannot know for sure that John Cena was solely responsible for how many tickets that were sold at each of these events. They did have other stars on the card, right? They had Cody Rhodes and they might have had Roman for some of them and Rhea Ripley and people like that. But this isn't even all of them. This is just based on the available data for 20 of the events that he was on. They accounted for more than $80 million in ticket sales. And it helps when you charge astronomical ticket prices too. Just got to point that out. And his retirement show in December set the all-time arena gate record for WWE at $6.5 million. This is from the story. As WWE continues to break gate records, we now know John Cena's retirement show drew the biggest live gate for an arena event in company history, and likely the highest such gate in all of pro wrestling history, even when taking inflation into account. Ticket sales for the Saturday night's main event show on December 13th in Washington, D.C. totaled $6,553,883. This is according to live event trade publication Polestar. By a wide margin, that surpasses the earlier record set at the beginning of last year when the premiere of Raw on Netflix sold almost 4.9 million in Inglewood at the Intuit Dome. And with 17,000 plus tickets sold in the Capital One Arena for Cena's final match, a loss to Gunther, the average ticket sale was $383, a figure that likely does not include ticketing fees that fans paid. The average ticket sale for the launch of Raw on Netflix was an even $300. Only WrestleMania events in recent history have had higher known average ticket prices. And until last year, when taking inflation into account, no WWE arena event and possibly no arena event in history had surpassed the gate of WrestleMania 5. That event, headlined by Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage in 1989, drew a gate reportedly worth $1.6 million at the time. Which today would be the equivalent to $4.2 million. Yeah, that doesn't get talked about enough. Like the kind of business that Hogan and Savage did for that WrestleMania. But you know what? It's not a surprise to me. Like there's a reason why my favorite story in wrestling history, and it's the biggest one that I grew up on, not long after I started watching wrestling, was the Mega Power storyline. It was the meeting of the Madness and the Mania, right? It was Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man and that handshake and Elizabeth in between them. They were the two biggest baby faces in the company at that time. And they came together. Of course, if they came together today, they would have been tag team champions. That's not how it worked back then. But that storyline, they came together in 87, right? It was later in 87. And they didn't split until early 89. So they had all that time to play that storyline out. Savage winning the title and the jealousy and Hogan lusting for Elizabeth, which he did. He was a fucking heel. I just was too young to realize it. But now, of course, I realize Macho Man was right about every fucking thing. Hogan was always a heel. But that was just such a great story and such a great, payoff to it. The night that they broke up and the Mega Powers exploded, and then it just built very nicely into that WrestleMania match. And to think that after all these years, the money they made and the record they set that night up until recently still stood the test of time. It just goes to show you the kind of business they did with that story. But the last little piece here, it says of Cena's 38 appearances for WWE, I thought it was 36. Here it says 38. We have data for 20 of them. The credit for drawing those crowds can't solely go to Cena, and any notion about who drew what in modern times raises the inevitable question about how much credit must go to WWE's brand before any individual wrestler. That said, it is worth noting that those 20 events alone during Cena's retirement tour drew more than 80 million in ticket sales, which does not include Elimination Chamber, Clash in Paris, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, of which sales data is not currently available. So to sum that up, for all the talk about the creative follies of the retirement tour, and they botched this, and they shouldn't have done that, and the heel turn, and they made a lot of mistakes, and it could have been a hell of a lot better than it was, WWE ain't crying over it. Because even with, not the strongest creative, and I'm being generous when I say that, they still made money hand over fist. They made so much money off John Cena, and I think they could have made even more. Which I go back to them only telling him, hey, we only need you for 36 dates. But that's something they don't have this year. Going into WrestleMania, they don't have The Rock, and they don't have John Cena and a big retirement tour. So they're not going to be able to lean on that this year in the way that they did last year. But whatever you want to say about the creative as far as the tour itself, it doesn't change the fact that they made a shit ton of money off of it.